All right, so the seamless animation that you've got here, I mean, it looks practically like one continuous motion. Like if everything was recorded end to end in a giant motion capture studio, it's a credit to you and your team. I just wanted to know, like, what technology is allowing you to do this?
So we invested in a new technology called motion matching. It's been developed before, but we are creating our own system.
Yep.
We put a lot of emphasis to make the animations for the characters feel very real and realistic, to ground the player into this world. So what we do is capture all the movements we need to do a moveset and make sure they all have weight and they play in the correct places. So if you're changing directions, you have weight in one place, and if you're doing an arc, you have weight in another.
Now, from the outside looking in, it seems like it would take a lot of computational power needed to be cycling through all these stored motion captured animations. Like you're pairing one animation with another animation, but then you have to factor in what weapon does the player have, and you're also layering in sort of facial animations as well. That sounds really intensive. How did they even begin to program something like that?
Yeah, we have a very, very talented programming team and animation team as well. So it takes a lot of effort. It doesn't come for free. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of thinking to make sure we do it the best way possible. So everything is thought of with that in mind. But what I want to really say is we do this so we can ground the players. So everything is believable, and at least a believable character from whoever's playing. But it does take a lot of effort from programming to gameplay animators to be able to complete all the very, very difficult systems.
You'll probably die from hypothermia from wearing canvas sneakers in the snow.
I am wearing boots today. You know how you're gonna die?
Ooh, let me guess. You're gonna kill me? Did I ruin your punchline?
No. Maybe. Fuck you.
Sorry.
And with amazing realism, unfortunately breeds skeptics, a lot of them online. And I noticed, like the first few gameplay trailers that you put out, there were some detractors out there that were sort of calling fakes and this and that. I mean, obviously it isn't. I've played it and it's the real McCoy, as I knew it would be. But I just wanted to know, you know, how does it feel to be so good at something that people think you are cheating?
It only takes people to see it and actually play it. We're proud of what we're doing, but I feel that we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
You always see your work as the most critic, so we can always do better. Having said that, we're so happy with the result of this demo, proving everyone that it's playable, that it's a real thing, that it looks great, and it serves the story, which is the most important part for animation in The Last of Us Part 2. It serves the story, it serves to ground the players, it serves to start conversations about the cycle of violence and how using violence as a medium or as a soul will bring more violence in response. So all that needs, we want to ground the players into this world to make it feel believable, so they feel the threat, and animation serves that purpose.
This is dumb. We should be pushing in.
We hold the perimeter until we hear otherwise. Keep an eye out in case he comes this way.
I got something.
Shit. Infected?
Let's get in there. Okay, girl.
And I was just thinking, like, with motion matching, you have this sort of large bucket of animations per movement. Did it require a ton more mocapping than usual? And then, if that was the case, was it difficult sort of managing the endurance levels of your actors?
Most definitely. Especially when we're talking about crouch movesets or cover movesets where the actor has to be crouched for a while, we have to split them up. So there's way more data that we used before just to cover for more realistic movements. But we think about these things and the well-being of the actors, and we can split a cover moveset or a crouch moveset in several sessions, and the flexibility of motion matching, it allows us to put something in the engine very fast that is not polished, just to see how it feels, like it has the right tone, the correct posture, and then from there we can start completing the gaps that the moveset didn't have at that time.
Could be useful.
I mean, it's sort of been said that Uncharted 4 had 1,200 story sequences, 34,000 animations, and like 14.5 hours of animation time, which is phenomenal. I mean, how do those figures compare to this game?
This game is the biggest game we've ever done. The scope is massive. Every single moment of it is handcrafted, like you see at the demo, all the performances from the characters. How Dina and Ellie react to each other in the basement, The horses and dogs were actually motion captured as well, which was very challenging and new for us. So the game is the biggest we've ever done, and that it's 50% bigger.
And just, sorry to throw numbers at you, but I'm just curious. I mean, with Uncharted 3 and The Last of Us, I heard that it's sort of facial bones, you're like 50 to 100 from what I heard, and then Uncharted sort of bumped that to 300 to 500. The Last of Us Part 2, is it the same sort of ballpark, or did you feel you sort of had enough bones going on in the face?
So we wanted to make this game more real, to have all the players like Dina, Ellie, the characters more real and believable. And for that, we wanted to invest more technology to achieve that. So if you see the dance scene in the trailer and his demo today, the way they look at each other, the expressions, the way they bite, the way they kiss, that requires more joints, more fidelity, and more tech.
I mean, you've got a dedicated dodge button this time around, which is, you know, obviously new to the mix, and from there becomes, you know, new challenges to face. I was just wondering, from an animation perspective, this new wrinkle of gameplay, what's been difficult to achieve with it?
It's make sure it serves the purpose to what it was created, like the dodge button, but not limited to the dodge button. We have prone as well. We have new traversal. So Ellie's lighter is 19 years old, so she traverses the environment in more efficient ways. So prone, we have the dodge, we have a squeezing through gas that opens new gameplay opportunities for players to be able to engage different situations, solve traversal puzzles, so it opens new avenues from gameplay.
One of the cool things with the way Sony Studios is set up is this sort of kind of development tech will eventually spread to like other developers through the ICE team. Just wondering if you give me a broader sense of how that sharing process happens.
We are in contact with all Sony Studios, and we work together really well. And we're very happy to be part of that.
With the Seraphites being sort of very uniform in the way that they dress, we've got the men have certain hairstyles, the women have certain hairstyles, they love trench coats. There's a danger of the enemies, at least those enemies, becoming cookie cutter. I was just wondering if, as the animation lead, you've sort of been asked to bring a bit more individuality to the way perhaps they move, like their gait, their personal sort of movements and that sort of thing.
Yeah, in this world, different factions, those who don't really left, we want to make sure that this enemy feel all grounded and real and give the threat that it should be doing. Like for us, a very important thing we've done this time around is how the enemies call themselves by name, and that makes them more human and causes the players to think about the consequences of their actions. You know, how far are you willing to go to justify justice, to pursue justice, and like, are you willing to use your humanity, for vengeance, for the law? So that's very important to us, and our main objectives of the animation lead or animation team is make sure these enemies feel grounded, realistic, and unique.
Is every enemy named? Does it seem that way? Just out of curiosity. Maybe.
That's something we really try hard, so everyone, you feel like the enemies are humane, and that's a core theme of the game. So again, you feel like you're involved with Ellie in this journey, and like feel the consequences and the things she's gone through.
Okay. One of the things I loved about Uncharted 4 was that it came with this unlockable slow motion mode. And being a big fan of animation, it really, you could dial down the tempo and really see the artistry in the animation systems in flight. I was just wondering if you would push for something like that in this game.
We're still developing. The Last of Us Part 2 is very busy trying to nail down like the core aspects of it, so I cannot elaborate more on that subject.
Fair enough. It's worth a shot. Okay, excellent. That's it. Thank you very much for your time. It's great.
Smell something, boy?
We lost another soldier!